So, Miss Takara, tell me what's on your mind.
First and foremost, Doctor, I want to thank you very much for allowing me to finally discuss this matter, as it's something I've been meaning to talk about for quite some time. You see, I've always come to have a fear of strangers, and being in a fandom over the internet tends to enhance it somewhat immensely.
I see. Might I ask how this has been affecting your interactions in the fandom?
Well, I haven't done any collabs as of yet. Whenever I get a note or message from someone, let's say on DeviantArt, I tend to get anxious and it becomes hard trying to figure out how to reply. I suppose it depends on what it says, really.
Well, do you suppose there is any change to how you interact with others online compared to how you interact in real life?
More or less, I suppose. I get very nervous talking with people who just start random conversation at best, and I don't really know how to respond at first. I compare it to how Twilight was in the beginning of the series. She wasn't too social either, always wanted to focus on reading her books, and I really just feel more comfortable doing whatever it is I love best. Now, in the case of the MLP fandom, it's a little less direct when I submit a new work on DeviantArt, where I at least get a favorite or comment every so often, and that's fine with me. It's not at any specific time, so I don't feel nervous or compelled even.
But accepting an invitation to take part in a collaboration project, that makes you feel nervous or even anxious because you don't want to live up to someone else's expectations, perhaps?
Well, I suppose as far as expectations are concerned, not trying to mix words around or what have you. I tend to make many mistakes in what I do, and I fear somewhat of disappointing others. It differs a bit from Twilight's reasons, so to speak. Sorry if this does not make much sense at first.
That's perfectly fine, Miss Takara. I'm just trying to understand a bit more of your perspective on things. You mention a fear of disappointing others. Do you think it would make a difference if no one knew that you were helping to make their project better, as opposed to feeling like you were being put in the spotlight?
It would make some bit of difference in both ways. I'm always asking whether or not there's something I can do to help in a job, but I don't necessarily care for being, as you mentioned, in the spotlight. I'm not much of a leader, but I feel just as good knowing that I did my part in contributing whatever it is. And, in a sense, it liberates in some way that's better than the head of it all.
I see. So tell me what goes through your mind whenever someone sends you a request for a collaboration. You mentioned feeling nervous, a bit of anxiety, but there is a little difference in how someone words their message, as you say?
How they put their message does actually make me a bit nervous. I misunderstand things a tad often, so I do what I can and trust my own judgment from time to time. But when I find out it's nothing to worry about, I feel a little bit calmer. And I know what to do. I feel proud to know that I have this ability to think before I act, and it really tells me something about my personal character. Would other people feel offended by my judgment, though? That's the last thing I ever want to do.
Interesting. Believe it or not, this does actually seem familiar to me. That driving need to think about one's response very carefully before saying anything aloud. A constant worry that you may have misinterpreted someone else's meaning. Or worse, not even pick up on something you might have done wrong in the first place. At least until someone else points it out after the fact. Does any of this ring a bell?
I think I understand. I'm sorry.
Sorry? For what reason would you have to apologize, Miss Takara? I refer to these sort of situations because I too have gone through those kinds of feelings. I can remember countless examples where I thought I was just having a normal conversation, and yet afterwards being informed that I had offended someone without even realizing it. I've had projects where my desire to be helpful actually worked against me because I had unknowingly made others feel as though I was overstepping my bounds. As such, I have had to learn some very harsh lessons about constantly stepping back and analyzing a situation over and over, even while in the middle of a conversation. All because I'm worried about repeating past mistakes. Even now, I sense that you were worried about saying something wrong in this very conversation. But while we may learn a great deal from others when they help us better understand ourselves, I want to emphasize just how important it is to keep on trying. I learned the hard way just how socially awkward I really am many, many years ago. And I still have that nervous anxiety over whether I will make another mistake each time I start a collaboration project. But I know just how much of a difference it has made when I decided to overcome my hesitations and worked with others to create something I never could have done on my own. It is hard. I don't suppose that hesitation will ever go away. But I want you to know that living a life of constant worry is a far worse fate than giving into your social awkwardness from time to time. Does that make sense, Miss Takara?
Wow, that just blew my mind. I don't really know what to say, except I never really looked at it from that direction before. I guess my fear of hurting or offending others and having that same mistake repeating over and over again has been holding me back from taking the next step. Not just in the fandom, but in general. It does make sense, and I really want to try to do better at not letting my fears take hold. Who knows? I might even reach an expectation I never thought I could, provided that I try. Right?
Absolutely. That's the sort of lesson that I am continuing to learn even today. And I'm glad that I can help others to take a few more risks with the hope of accomplishing something that they've never done before. I look forward to seeing what you come up with, Miss Takara. Shall we continue on this next week?
Again, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to share my thoughts, Dr. Wolf, as I strive to reach my goals and not let my hesitations control me. Take care, and thank you.
Fare thee well, Miss Takara. It's good to be helping.